Look, let's cut the fluff and get straight to the point. If you're here, it's because you're tired of being the clown chasing after someone who doesn't give a damn about you. You know what's worse? You still believe that somehow this will change, that she'll realize your worth and everything will magically resolve itself. Spoiler, it won't. And that's exactly why you need to hear what I'm about to tell you, no matter how painful it is. This video isn't for the weak. It's not for those who still cling to fairy tales. If you're ready to face the harsh, raw reality, then stay. If not, better leave now, because what I'm about to say isn't going to be pretty, but it's exactly what you need to hear to put an end to your mediocre life and start truly valuing yourself. Ready to wake up? Then let's go. Number 1, the worst decision you can make. Let's face reality, because it seems you're still living in a fantasy world. The biggest mistake, the one that will drag you down, is insisting on someone who has already made it clear they don't care about you. Yes, I'm talking about those sleepless nights thinking about how to win her over, the messages you send that go unanswered, the invitations she ignores. It's like pressing the same key on a detuned piano, hoping the music will somehow become pleasant. You know what that is? Utter stupidity. Now let's debunk this illusion that she's special, unique, a rare flower in the garden. Put aside this romantic view and wake up to the fact that this justification you use to keep chasing her is nothing more than a mask to hide your neediness. You're not in love with her, you're desperate for attention. And while you're feeding this obsession, do you know what she's doing? Moving on with her life, maybe even laughing at your persistence. For those who think they're so irresistible that they can't take no for an answer, it's time to step down from the pedestal. Rejection hurts, sure, but it's not the end of the world. The harsh and raw truth is that no one is irreplaceable, and this insistence is only serving to waste your time, your energy, and worse, to erode whatever dignity you have left. Insisting on someone who doesn't want you is a one-way ticket to frustration. There's no heroism in trying to change the mind of someone who has already decided you're not for them. On the contrary, what you're doing is digging your own emotional grave. Every time you insist, you're feeding her disinterest and consequently undermining your own value. It's like chasing the wind. You'll never catch it, and you'll just end up tired and empty-handed. So stop humiliating yourself. Accept rejection as the red flag it is, and instead of continuing down this dead-end road, change direction. Your time is valuable, and there are infinitely more productive and dignified ways to invest your energy than continuing to be the jester of someone who doesn't care about you. Number 2. The illusion of convincing her to change her mind. Do you really think you're going to convince a woman to like you with sweet words and kind gestures? Let me tell you something you need to hear. Attraction is not a matter of persuasion, much less merit. It doesn't matter if you're the most attentive, kind, and helpful guy in the universe. If she doesn't feel that spark for you, nothing you do will ignite that flame. Attraction is something that either happens or doesn't, period. It's instinctive, almost primal, and it doesn't bow to your efforts. Thinking you can change how she feels with your behavior is the biggest illusion you could have. You can recite poetry, serenade her, shower her with gifts and attention, but if her instinct has already classified you as just a friend, or worse, as unattractive, that won't change just because you're trying hard. This kind of thinking is like trying to push a mountain. You'll just tire yourself out, and in the end, the mountain won't move an inch. The problem here is that you're trying to fabricate something that simply doesn't exist. Trying to convince her to change her mind is as useless as trying to teach a fish to fly. You're wasting your time, your energy, and honestly, you're becoming a bore. Because while you're all focused on showing how amazing you are, she's already decided she feels nothing but indifference. So instead of wasting your time trying to change her mind, something that, frankly, is a mission impossible, how about doing something useful? Focus on what you can really control, yourself. Develop traits that naturally increase your attractiveness, that make the next woman look at you and think, this guy is different. Be interesting, confident, and most importantly, stop begging for attention. Nothing is more repellent than someone who seems desperate to be loved. In the end, the key isn't in changing her mind, but in changing your own. Understand that you deserve someone who truly wants you without needing to be convinced. And when you value yourself, it's amazing how things start to align naturally. So stop this desperate attempt to make her love you and start behaving like someone worthy of being loved. She doesn't need to change her mind. You need to change your approach. Number 3, accept being ignored. No way. Let's talk about one of the worst humiliations you can subject yourself to. Being ignored. There's nothing more frustrating, nothing that eats away at your ego more than sending messages that never get a reply, waiting for dates that never happen, and worse yet, accepting this kind of treatment as if it were normal. If you're doing this, it's time to stop immediately, because all you're achieving is destroying the little value you have left, not just in her eyes, but more importantly, in your own. When you accept being ignored, you're basically telling yourself and the world that you don't deserve respect, that any scrap of attention is enough for you. This is self-sabotage in its purest form. Every time you allow her to treat you as a disposable option, you're reinforcing this negative idea in your head, entering a vicious cycle of frustration and rejection that will only drag you down further. Do you know what happens when you submit to this kind of treatment? You devalue yourself. And worst of all, you start to believe you deserve to be treated this way. That's when things really start to go downhill. Because once you lose respect for yourself, it's very hard to demand that others respect you. So let's make one thing clear. Not accepting being ignored isn't about wounded pride or inflated ego. It's a matter of dignity. If she doesn't value you, she doesn't deserve a second more of your attention. Life is too short for you to be begging for scraps from someone who simply doesn't care. Instead of clinging to the hope that she'll change, that one day she'll realize her mistake and start valuing you, move on. Give yourself the chance to find someone who truly respects and values you as you deserve. Because in the end, it's much better to be alone than to be with someone who makes you feel insignificant. So, don't accept being ignored. Don't accept being treated like nothing. Lift your head, reclaim your dignity, and move on. There are people out there who will value you, but that will only happen when you start valuing yourself first. If you're still accepting being ignored and treated like trash, then it's time to wake up now. It's time to stop being a doormat and start being the man she can't stop thinking about.
Want to know how?
Read the digital book in the description of this video. This read will show you exactly how to get out of this pathetic situation and make her truly value you. Stop being stepped on. It's time to take the reins and make her realize the mistake she made in underestimating you. Don't waste any more time being humiliated. Number 4, the best way out. Erase her from your life. Want to know the real secret to getting over rejection? Forget her completely. That's right. I'm not talking about pretending to forget while you stalk her social media or dwell on the past. I'm talking about erasing her from your life as if she never existed. Cut any ties, any memories. She doesn't deserve you, so why keep any connection, even if it's in your mind? And no, it's not about holding a grudge or being bitter. The idea here isn't to carry that "I'll show her" attitude. On the contrary, it's about understanding that she's the one who really lost out, while you evolve, becoming an even stronger, more confident version of yourself. She'll continue her life and maybe, one day, realize she let something valuable slip away. But guess what? By then, you'll be far beyond, in a place where she can't even come close. If necessary, do yourself a favor and delete her from your social media. It's a simple but crucial step. Avoid the temptation to check what she's up to that will only hold you back. Who cares what she's posting or who she's hanging out with? That kind of curiosity only prolongs the process of moving on and keeps you stuck in a situation you need to get out of as soon as possible. Focus on yourself, on your growth, because in the end, the best revenge is being happy, being at peace with yourself, growing and evolving. But here's the most important point. Do it for you, not to prove anything to her. If you focus on improving just so she notices, you're still tied to her, still trying to get the attention of someone who didn't value you. And that, my friend, is staying in the cycle of self-sabotage. So what do you need to do? Completely detach. Forget her as if she were just a shadow that passed through your life. Invest in yourself, in your growth, in your well-being. And when she realizes the mistake she made, it will be too late, because you will have evolved to a point where the past no longer affects you. The best way out, without a doubt, is to move forward and never look back. Number 5, move on to the next, the smartest move. Let's be real, without beating around the bush. Insisting on something that's already gone wrong is like trying to revive a corpse. It's not going to happen, and the sooner you accept that, the better. Want to know the smartest move you can make? Move on to the next one without looking back. It's 1,000 times healthier to start a new flirtation, a new interaction, than to waste your time and energy trying to resurrect a romance that's already dead. Learning from past mistakes is essential, of course, but staying stuck in them, that's foolishness. There's no point in dwelling on what went wrong, beating yourself up, or trying to understand why things didn't work out. What matters is what you're going to do from now on. And the answer is simple. Move on. There are countless other women out there, and many of them may be more willing to value you than the one who already gave you the boot. Now, if you realize that the problem might be with you, whether it's your mindset or your behavior, then it's time to take action. There's no point in lamenting or trying to justify your mistakes. Work on yourself. Become more confident. Someone who naturally attracts others without needing to beg for attention. The secret isn't in begging for scraps of interest, but in being so interesting that people simply can't ignore you. Change your posture, your attitude. Stop being the guy who chases after others and become someone who knows his worth, who doesn't need to settle for the minimum, because in the end, those who value themselves attract what they deserve. And when you learn to move on without hesitation, you'll realize that opportunities are everywhere. You just need to be ready to seize them. So, forget the past, learn what you need to, and move forward with your head held high. Moving on to the next is always the best choice because life waits for no one, and you shouldn't wait either. Go after what you truly deserve and leave the rest behind. Number 6, focus on your evolution. The real key to the game. It's time to shift your focus once and for all. Forget her. Forget the disappointments, and put all your energy into what really matters. You. Now, the game is no longer about trying to please someone who doesn't value you, but about becoming the most powerful, confident, and irresistible version of yourself. Let's talk about sexual market value, SMV. This is the concept that will make you understand that the more you develop, the less you need to chase after those who don't want you. And how do you increase your SMV? Start by improving your appearance. No, I'm not talking about following unattainable standards, but about taking care of yourself. Good physical condition, a style that flatters you, an appearance that exudes self-confidence. Next, work on your body language. Walk like someone who knows what they want, who is comfortable in their own skin. Believe me, it makes all the difference. But it doesn't stop there. Your communication needs to be sharp, both verbal and nonverbal. Be clear, direct, and above all, authentic. People are naturally attracted to those who can express themselves confidently and without hesitation. And while you're at it, don't forget about your financial life. Money doesn't buy love, but having financial stability puts you in a position of power, of independence, which is extremely attractive. And we can't overlook social skills. Knowing how to interact, how to present yourself in different situations, and, above all, understanding social dynamics is an asset that puts you ahead. The more you develop these areas, the more you'll realize you don't need to insist or humiliate yourself for attention. Things simply start to flow naturally. You begin to attract people and opportunities effortlessly, simply because you've become someone who exudes value. The real game, then, is to focus on your continuous evolution. Become the best version of yourself, not to prove something to someone else, but so that you feel complete, secure, and satisfied with who you are. And when you reach this level, everything changes. People start to notice, to approach, and what once seemed difficult winning, someone's interest now happens without you having to lift a finger. So forget the need to please. Your priority is you. Invest in your growth, in your personal development, and watch how things around you start to align. The real power lies in becoming irresistible for who you are, not for who you try to be. Number 7. Embrace the abundance mindset. The final punch you need. We've reached the final point, and I'm not going to hold back here. It's time to stop being a fool who grovels after a single woman as if she were the center of the universe. Let's face the harsh truth. You're sinking because you've decided to focus all your energy on someone who, frankly, doesn't care about you. And do you know what that makes you? A loser. That's right, a loser who is wasting time, self-esteem, and potential in a bottomless pit. Understand this once and for all. The world is full of women. Dozens, hundreds, thousands of possibilities. None of them are irreplaceable, no matter how much your stubborn head insists on believing otherwise. You need to stop clinging to the illusion that this woman is the only one on the planet who can make you happy. She's not. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you'll stop being the fool in this story. Here's the secret you seem not to grasp. You're the prize, not her. When you start seeing yourself this way, everything changes drastically. You stop being the guy who begs for attention and become the man who chooses, who has the power to decide who deserves to be by his side. And guess what? When you adopt this mindset, the game changes completely. She and any other woman will realize you're no longer in the position of the desperate one, but of someone who knows his worth and won't settle for crumbs. Now, if you're still sitting there thinking you need one more chance with her, that just one more attempt will make a difference, let me tell you something very clear. You're a fool who is self-sabotaging, throwing away your dignity and your future. Stop living in the shadow of what could have been and start living what can be with people who truly value you. If you want to end this nonsense and start living for real, then adopt the abundance mindset. See the world as it really is. A place full of opportunities, of people who can make you happy without you having to crawl for them. And you know what's best? When you finally understand this, you'll realize that true happiness doesn't come from begging for love, but from being someone who is naturally loved and respected. So give the final punch to your illusion. Stand up, dust yourself off, and start behaving like the man you should be. A man who knows he's worth far more than this nonsense. The power is in you, and it's time to use it. Wake up before it's too late. We've reached the end, and if you still don't get the message, then maybe you deserve to stay in the cycle of failure and frustration. Life won't wait for you, and it definitely won't give you another chance if you keep making the same mistakes. If you're tired of being stepped on, ignored, and treated like nothing, then it's time to do something different. And no, I'm not talking about changing to please her. I'm talking about changing to please the only person who really matters in this story, you. Look in the mirror and ask yourself if this is what you want for your life. Do you want to keep being the guy who chases, who accepts scraps, who humiliates himself? Or do you want to be someone who values himself, who is respected, who naturally attracts what he deserves? The choice is yours, but I'll tell you one thing. Staying the way you are won't get you anywhere. So either you wake up now, or you'll continue being the fool, living in the shadow of what could be, but never will be. End the video with this idea in mind. Either you decide to value yourself today, or you'll spend the rest of your life regretting the opportunities you let slip away. The power to change is in your hands. Use it before it's too late. And if you really want to put an end to this nonsense, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications so you don't miss any videos. Stop being the pitiful one in the story. It's time to turn the game around.